Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive into some seriously old school history.
I'm game if you are. Always up for a good deep dive.
Today, we're cracking open Genesis chapter 5, the genealogy of Adam. It's like an ancient family tree stretching all the way back to the beginning.
Talk about tracing your roots.
Right. But it's more than just names and dates. This text can unlock a whole lot about the ancient world, their beliefs, values, how they understood time, even family structure.
Oh, absolutely. These verses, they weren't just messing around with record keeping. This is purposeful storytelling at its finest.
You really feel that narrative weight when you dig in. For instance, right off the bat, it's striking how the genealogy emphasizes the father. So-and-so begat so-and-so.
Right, it's like boom, 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 lineage passed down through the fathers. And that actually tells us something important right there. Many cultures around that time were matriarchal, tracing lineage through mothers.
Fascinating. So in Genesis, that emphasis on fathers, on the patriarchal line, it's a window into the structure of ancient Hebrew society.
Exactly. It's those subtle details that really get you thinking.
And speaking of details, what always gets me are those lifespans. Methuselah living to 969, I mean, come on, how do we even wrap our heads around that?
Right. Talk about a head scratcher. It's been sparking debates for centuries. Some scholars say, hold on, don't take it literally. They see those ages as symbolic.
Symbolic, how so?
Well, maybe it's not about the actual years, but about representing a state of completeness, spiritual longevity. Or maybe it reflects a different understanding of time altogether.
Different in what sense?
For instance, some ancient cultures used lunar calendars. Their year wasn't the same length as our solar year.
So a lifespan of, say, 900 lunar years would be, well, still pretty long, but shorter.
Exactly. Plus, you've got to consider potential mistranslations over time. It gets complicated, but that's part of the fun.
It definitely keeps things interesting. But it's not just the big numbers. There's this other recurring detail that always gets me, that phrase, and he had other sons and daughters.
Oh, you're picking up on the good stuff.
It seems simple, almost like an afterthought, but they tack it on to almost every name. Why the repetition?
It's all about emphasis. See,
What?
Genesis, it's hammering home this idea. Life goes on, family, lineage. It's central to their worldview.
It's like it's saying, hey, this family tree, it branches out way further than we've got space to write down.
Exactly. It's hinting at a whole world teeming with people, stories upon stories. These aren't just names on a page. They're ancestors to a multitude.
Which brings us to a figure shrouded in mystery, Enoch. Unlike the others, he doesn't die. Genesis says he walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Now that's an exit.
Talk about leaving an impression. Enoch's story is where the genealogy takes this intriguing turn. It introduces these bigger theological themes.
Like what?
Well, walking with God, that suggests a level of intimacy, a closeness we haven't seen before in the narrative, and being taken by God. That opens up all sorts of questions. Divine judgment, maybe.
I can see that, especially since the idea of judgment, it becomes a major theme later in Genesis.
Exactly. So was Enoch's departure a foreshadowing? A special exception? Is left open to interpretation, which just adds to the intrigue.
It definitely makes you think, and it reminds us that there's so much depth to these ancient texts.
You got it. The genealogy of Adam, it's not just a family tree, it's a carefully crafted narrative, offering a glimpse into the beliefs, the values, the entire worldview of the ancient Hebrew people.
A worldview that, even thousands of years later, continues to fascinate, challenge, and inspire us. It makes you wonder what other subtle details, what other connections we might be missing in our modern readings.
Thank you for spending this time with us. Toby, Eleanor, and our team of researchers are working hard to produce more episodes. If you value what we're doing here, please consider subscribing and sharing the word. Additionally, our podcast, RSS, and Patreon links can be found below. Listener support is what makes our work possible. Join us next time for another deep dive. God bless.